Welcome to the Big Brilla Podcast, proudly the biggest Mississippi Brilla FC podcast in the world. Always will be. You know, the Big Brilla Podcast is brought to you every week by the Taylor Group with Keller Williams Realty. Both Scott and Amanda Taylor, they are from the Clinton area, and they take pride in walking beside both first-time home buyers and seasoned home buying veterans. Put the Taylor Group of Keller Williams to work for you. Call Scott at 601-460-4868 or email him at scott.taylor@kw.com. Just visit the website. It's the easiest thing to do. Just visit the website, thetaylorgroup.co. That's thetaylorgroup.co. My name is Robert Chapman, and this past week, Mississippi Brilla FC, they were brilliant on the road as they headed up north to Memphis and up to Jackson, Tennessee as well. You know, the momentum that they had. Oh man, it was there. It was purposeful. They were on a mission. They were there to make a statement after the previous two home matches against these same two teams, where the boys in blue had to claw their way against Memphis just to get a draw, a 3-3 draw, while playing a man down, and then also a man down against the Jackson Boom. So much like a thoroughbred coming into the fourth turn, they've kind of pinned their ears back, and they have very much positioned themselves into a team that could make the playoffs. The talk is there. You gotta get to it. The Memphis match, which was this past Tuesday on June the 30th, saw Brilla fall down a goal pretty early after former Brilla FC player Miller Lashley scored in the 13th minute. But then you've got Julian Diaz and his 9.5-foot tall self answered the call 7 minutes apart to give Brilla a 2-1 lead heading into halftime. Now, I know he's not really 9.5 feet tall, but my goodness, he's tall, especially compared to me. He's actually tall. Everybody's tall. Let's not forget Gage Sorey, who was given a red card the last time that Brilla faced Memphis. And they capped things off with a goal in the second half with Gage scoring in the 58th minute, taking the lead to a 3-1, which then ended up being the victory. That was the score at the very end. Those 3 points were massive. Truly, they were much needed as they break into the final stretch of the season. On July 4th, Brilla FC returned to Tennessee, heading north to Memphis to take on the Jackson Boom. This time, they jumped up on the first goal. They jumped on board first. Gian Filizola scored a goal in the 14th minute, and the final score ended up being 5-0. But for the remainder of the first half, neither team found the back of the net again, requiring both to continue to fight with Brilla up 1-0. Again, going into that halftime, it was just Brilla up by 1. So it wasn't that pull-away score that it ended up being. So it wasn't just a gimme game. They had to come back and fight. A 10-minute window in the second half proved to be the magic little bracket for Brilla. Filizola scored again in the 52nd minute, completing a brace. A few minutes later, you had Julian Recalde. You've heard his name before. Familiar name. He scored with Kareem Gegg scoring twice after that to complete a brace of his own. These two wins moved Brilla FC up from 4th to 3rd, trailing the Louisiana Crew by only a point. And, wouldn't you know, Brilla will host the Louisiana Crew for their final home match on July the 8th. So there's plenty of fireworks that can happen there. We've crossed the new month marker as we're very much in July. I mean, we are here. This is coming out. Let's see, we're recording this on the 5th. This is released on the 6th. There's a lot that's happening in match on 11th. So we're here. We're in July. And like I said earlier, we're in the final stretch of the season to see if postseason play is in our future. So what does Coach Will Nations have to say about how the boys handled their road wins? Let's check with him with From the Nations. Coach Will Nations, it's good to see you. You know, we typically do these things at about 4:30 on a Sunday, but we've had, various close calls to get in the way to change. You went to dinner with the family. I went on a 2-mile walk and almost passed out with my wife, which lets me know that I need to get back in shape a little bit. But how you been with this wonderful weekend that we've had, or weekend we've had with our Mississippi Brilla players?
Yeah, took a little vacation with the family down to Bay St. Louis. lovely spot here in Hancock County in Mississippi. But no rest for us as Mississippi Brilla picks up 6 points and outstanding victories over Memphis FC and Jackson Boom.
Yeah, so that's the thing is that we hosted them a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and I wouldn't say that we looked flat against them. We just didn't look full against them. We put up a fight, but maybe they brought their A game, and it showed two great teams that we had to compete against, and it showed up on our home turf. But we also took that fight up north, and so we got to see some really great matches where our guys got to show what they were made of and that the season's not over. They wanted to keep fighting. So that first match was against Memphis, a very talented Memphis team. What did you see in that one right off the bat? Because we went down early and they had to claw their way back.
Yeah, and you mentioned not looking full, and I think that is kind of a good way to describe it against Memphis FC last week at Robinson Hill Stadium, or the week previous of this week. A 3-3 draw that I kind of felt like we left the points out there on the table,
Mm-hmm.
but turn around where you fall behind 1-0. Great finish from former Bria player Miller Lashley, but then to turn around and have Diaz, our outstanding center back, one of our two outstanding center backs. Helped deflect a ball on a set piece that Recalde sent back into the box, and then also had an outstanding header at the top of the six on the front post that kind of elevated our game and took us to the next level and helped us secure those 3 points.
Yeah, those valuable 3 points. When you're seeing a if you come to a match and you watch Diaz, you see him out there, usually in that center back position back there with Juan Diego, you notice that he's 9.5 feet tall. He's
Yeah.
huge. And like you mentioned, the first goal that he scores, it's not all the way up in the air. He's not climbing the ladder. It's with his foot, but then he finishes things off both with the low ball and with the high ball. I do think that it was good seeing them at a very wonderful facility up in Memphis with a great team that I don't think that the points really show what there's. I don't think it really reflects their season. Their season was a
Mhm.
great season. It's a talented team. Um, but I think getting to see how they responded through the match, because it was a 13-minute goal we got down. It was an 18-minute goal we managed to bring it back even, and then I think it was like in the 25th minute, something like that, they kind of take the lead, and they don't turn back since. What did you notice? Was anything different on the pitch tactically for that match that's either different, similar, or was kind of a change from the last time we played them?
So obviously, I think we set up in a four back, in a 4-3-3 this match against Memphis. But the last time we started in a 3-5-2, which allowed Philazola and Gage Sori and everybody to bomb down the field as our fullbacks and provide the width. I think one of the interesting tactical things was we kept the three back while we were in possession,
Hmm.
and it was Nico Rodriguez that dropped into that center back position and split the main center backs wide and allowed our fullbacks to go forward, because it gave you that solid foundation of three backs, which is always nice because you can kind of put them across and you've got a solid foundation. What it also did was it opened up a lot of space in the middle third of the field as Nico Rodriguez dropped a lot deeper, and he has such a great ability, Nico does, of picking out a long diagonal pass or connecting up to the next level. And so I
Hmm.
think we saw something really positive in the 3-5-2 the first time around Memphis. And I think just that idea of maybe not having just three center backs, but actually having one of our midfielders drop into more of a center back role in possession proved to be the difference. Because obviously, when we were facing them out of possession, it allowed us to match up with their three in the midfield, because Nico was able to step up into that defensive mid level versus in possession. He was able to receive the ball a little deeper and open up space for Sabe and our other center midfielders.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about when those wingers are playing with those four in the back. Whenever they're moving up and they get to fly up, we get to cheat and almost have five in the middle or five up top, and then they get to fly back, and it requires a lot of leg work. And as long as you can manage that, as long as your engine is good to go, you're set for that. So I think kind of milking or merging those two three in the back that first match and then four in the back the second match. I think that kind of merging those two together, it really did pay off because you got to have not even just a solid 4-3-3. It really got three-dimensional where you had people playing in like halfway marks to open up those angles, make them even wider, and then have more options. It's like we were playing with 12 or 13 men almost.
Exactly. Finding the right triangles, the geometric shapes. And, you would think, why would you want to be down a man in the middle third? Usually, the idea is to have level, but in a way, it prevented Memphis from actually chasing a lot in
Yeah.
the press, and they had to kind of lower themselves into a middle block because you were leaving so much space behind you that, and like you said, the width was able to go and join in the midfield and also join with our striker. So just well executed game plan all night by Brilla. And again, we'll take the 3 points and glad to get them.
That's right. We can't leave Gage Story out of that. Gage got kind of a little bit of a payback right there when he got that red card the last time we played Memphis. A red card he earned, 2 yellow cards. He earned that one, but he also got to close off the bookend of getting a goal at the end of that match the second time around. So he kind of got to redeem himself from getting suspended out of that last match against them and then getting in and getting to score. So Gage Story getting that 58th minute goal, taking things out. And so, like I said, it was a good, wonderful match in the Mississippi world, or in the Memphis world with Mississippi going up there. Somebody must have turned your light off.
Yeah, I got a little one that's
That's
ready
all
for
right.
bed. Mary Bryce.
That's the thing about a podcast is that we're all up here in this world, in the real world now.
Yeah, we're getting music and everything tonight.
That's good. I love it. So then, so they got to come back. They got home. They had an extra day's rest that they really weren't banking on. But then when the schedule shifted, I think it was beneficial because they had to travel a little bit more north, up 55, and take on the Jackson Boom. Again, a team that has not had the season they want, the team that has no points to their name. But again, and I've said it all along, they're not a bad team. And if you look at the way that the match went against the Jackson Boom on their home turf, it wasn't a bad team. In fact, at the very beginning, it was competitive, and Brilla took it off at the very beginning. But of course, took it off at the end. It was competitive at the beginning. Philazola, though, he's been a name we say on a regular basis. He was instrumental to jumping things off right there in that 14th minute.
Yeah, and that's that fullback that has been fantastic all year for us at the left flank and just providing that attacking edge, whether it's with assist or just applying pressure to the opposition's back line and midfielders. But he really showed tonight or not tonight, but last night, that he has his finishing boots and can provide us with enough attacking power too down the left. And I'll say this too: I think the fullback, sometimes you tell a kid, hey, you got to play the left back or the right back, and they think, oh, I'm not a defender. Well, I think if you clip Philazola's summer and show them the impact that you can have as a left back or a right back, in that back line of your team, whether you're playing a 5-3-2 or a 4-3-3 or whatever, that position actually might be more important than actually playing a winger or a traditional right or left mid, because you have your fingers in every element of the game, defensively and attacking. So, Philazola, prime example. I know he's going on from Hines, but to play elsewhere collegiately. But what a stellar player, and what a summer he had.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I talked to his coach from Hines, Coach Robert Gardner, who's a really good guy, and he says that I asked him, I said, did he typically play left back for you? He goes, no. He said, in fact, I was kind of wondering this summer where he would play, what kind of role he would play, and what kind of impact he would have, because there's a handful of players from this local community college that are playing with Brilla. And you look at it down the list, Elliot Duffy, Philazola, Cody, you've got these handful of guys of who's going to make more of an impact, and they've all made a great impact on their own. But he said that Philazola didn't surprise him. He knows how talented he is, but his impact and his leadership in a position that he didn't typically play really kind of surprised him, and thought this was really good, which is something we've talked about before, of other players playing in positions that are not their typical positions. Where else have you seen that this season where guys have shifted from something they're comfortable to something they're asked to do and it pay off?
Well, you mentioned Cody Barnett. I can think of him on the high school level playing center back for us his senior year, just out of necessity, and that's somebody that took his abilities and helped us out there at Clinton High School a while back, and now he's playing as a number 9 during his 2 years at Hines, and seeing him play in that number 9 position, that's just a good soccer player with a good IQ to
Right.
understand how to plug yourself into that number 9 role, when to press, how to press, and he does a great job. Not only because he's just so athletic, but he's also somebody that can go. I think Recalde is another one that we've seen kind of play all over the place, whether that's out on the wing in the 4-3-3 or as a 9 at times. And then I'll say this too: Kareem Gegg has played different roles
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
number 9.
Yeah. That's
He's
a good point right there.
he's played the same position, but he has played it in different facets. We've
Hmm.
seen him play as a false 9, dropping off the back line to maybe pull a defensive block out of position, and then we've also seen him kind of as a traditional striker where you're trying to press the line, kind of like what Holland did Sunday afternoon. Not a lot of touches, but somebody that is stretching the back line, to have to keep tabs on him. And, again, he shows up big last night with a pair of goals for Bria. And it's because he's playing different roles. He's
Yeah.
not playing just the striker, but he's being asked to do different things. And he's been really successful in the past 2 weeks, just kind of doing what Mike and Humberto and everybody on staff has asked him to do as a role. So, sometimes too we talk about positions, but each position can have a different role as well. And Gegg has done an outstanding job playing different roles in the striker position.
Yeah, so it's Philazola and Gegg. Both of them finished out with the brace, and then right in between there, it's always Recalde. Recalde is there.
Could bet
He's
your
either
house on it almost.
he's either feeding the ball or he's scoring, and then you've got those consistency names like Gabriel Sa and Gonzalo Sabe that are consistently feeding the ball, and it's been pleasant to watch. And then we don't ever want to miss out on oh my gosh, his name is escaping me. This is horrible. We don't want to miss out on the name that I can't remember. Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Yes,
Yeah.
his name. He is always there. He's that one that can send those screamers from that outside, but he can
Yep.
also dribble up into the middle of it. Okay, so we've got 2 matches to go. We've got a home match that's coming up just down the road. We've got on July the 8th, 7 o'clock. Is the last home match. We're taking on the Louisiana Crew. So as we're recording this, we just watched the end of the Louisiana Crew and the Little Rock Rangers play, and Little Rock brings out that win to go up and secure the Mid South division. But that also leaves the Louisiana Crew sitting there with 19 points, 1 point ahead of Bria. So Bria has this opportunity to move up ahead of them. What do you think it's going to take? Because we haven't really seen them. I mean, the first match was the first time we saw them. So
Right. Right.
what needs to happen kind of coming into these last 2 matches, Louisiana Crew and then Red River to close it out?
Yeah, and I think with the division title wrapped up, it's kind of interesting to see how we'll kind of finish up the season. But I think against Louisiana Crew, I think it's going to just kind of be in the consistency of we're riding a high of a good season so far. I think it would probably be one of the higher finishes for Bria. I think that's motivation in itself, is that these players are going to be able to kind of build that foundation back up to where now next year, I saw a headline, kudos to Louisiana Crew and Little Rock Rangers for kind of becoming regional powerhouses. But I'd love to see Bria kind of join that discussion again next year, this upcoming summer, in 2027. But against Crew, it's going to be a physical game. I think it's going to be, maybe a set piece, as it was against Memphis FC. I think, thinking back to May, which feels like yesterday,
Yeah, it really
that was
does.
a very physical game, and it was Bria that scored on set pieces, to win that ball game 3-2, and also played a man down. So if there was ever a short story microcosm of what the season was to hold, for us. It was going to be a team that was going to fight uh, tooth and nail for every second of the 90 minutes plus whatever the referee
Mhm.
decided to add on, while also maybe facing a lot of adversity. I think you're going to face some adversity against Louisiana Crew this upcoming week, and then having to go over to Bossier City and play in what we called a kind of control chaos Red River team that has been actually a pleasant surprise to watch this year and really challenge for things um, in the Mid South Division.
I think you're right. Uh, I'm anxious to see where the emotions are going into finishing the season because it's been a quality season. It's been a lot of fun. Everybody is cleared off of red cards. Juan Diego has served his time for such an odd red card, but everybody's back. Everybody's clean. You saw how valuable Gage Sorey was, especially getting that third goal against Memphis and kind of cleaning things up there. So going into these two heavy matches, we're going to have everybody ready to go, and I think that'll be good. But again, I'd like to see how the emotions are handled. At the beginning of the season, you're all you're all hopped up on this is a new season. I'm excited. I want to make a name for myself. Everybody is it's like the old NFL slogan they had for a while on opening day. Everybody's undefeated. Well, now we're kind of towards the end, and everybody's playing for some bragging rights. It's going to be the same guys they see in some of their collegiate matches, guys they're going to see next year, guys they've seen last year. So they're going to go in a new level of hyped up, but they're going to be hyped up. So I wonder how that level of control is going to be coached in through this week to prepare them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and I think Crew, is going to want to kind of get their points back. I know Red River probably feels hard done from the match because they probably felt they deserved more than just 0 points walking away from
Mhm.
Clinton. So I think you're right. I think the more important thing for Bria too is just to kind of make sure that everything is under control, that we don't lose anybody to
Yep.
cards or unnecessary suspensions. I think that will be a big emphasis. I think you're 100% quality analyst on that with the idea that got to keep your emotions under control.
Yeah, and if you go back to the one of the very first episodes from the season when I talked to Coach Mike, he said that when he would play that way, he would prepare for the highs and the lows. So I have a feeling he's going to be coaching that as well. Because again, he's coaching young men, he's coaching future fathers, future husbands, brothers, all that kind of stuff. And so I think he's going to want to instill that into the young men who can then put that into performance on the pitch. The last thing that I kind of want to cover is the possibility of postseason. It's there. I kind of went back and looked to see all 20 division winners will get in, and then it will be a handful, 14, I think, of the second place teams, and then some of the third place teams. So it's going to be a little bit between here and a little bit between there. And so I think the Mid South Division is teamed up with the South Central Division. And so the two second place teams there might be jockeying in for position to see who's going to get that second place call up. Bria is just trailing the other. If you look at the South Central division, they're number one and number two. They are dead even on points, and they are separated by millimeters on points per match. So it's going to come down to that. So Bria needs these 6 points. Again, I said it with these final 4 matches, they needed all 12. They're halfway there.
Yeah,
They need these
yeah,
6 going into these 2.
yeah. The 24 points is the most you can get in this final stretch, and it's right there. And I'm pretty sure Louisiana Crew is going to look to try and hold their spot as well, even though that loss tonight at Little Rock doesn't serve them well. But it's exciting, and this is Wednesday is your last chance to catch Bria, at least for this season at home. And I would just really implore our fans to come out one more time. These young men have really put on a show for them, and let's push them. Let's try and get them to that postseason, or at least give our chance at it. For the first time since 2022 would
Yeah,
be fantastic.
I agree. I'd love for our fans to come out and cheer them off, even if this is the last time they play at home for the season. Maybe this is a little bit of a recruiting tactic to get them to come back next year. This is a good group of guys that we've seen the value of having returners who know what they're doing, work with the coach who knows what he's doing. It'd be good to see some of these guys come back and continue that chemistry. We've gotten spoiled getting to watch Gabriel Sa for 2 seasons. He's a phenomenal leader. He's not always going to be a starter, but he's always going to be a quiet leader on that team, and they look to him for a lot of things. So I would love for players like him to come back and to realize that this community is for them and this team is for them, and we could do it again in May of 2027.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, Rusty Bryan has set up a great program through Mississippi Brilla that's obviously ingrained in our community in Clinton and Central Mississippi and elsewhere in Costa Rica, but also just for these players to realize, hey, this is a great soccer community. I think you did a great thing earlier in the week with the watch party. I saw several photos and several of our Brilla players there. And again, we're in the time of recruitment where you're kind of trying to finish up, hey, we would love for you to come back next year. And I think as a community, as a soccer community, it's really important that we show them this is a great place for you to be because it's a soccer town.
Yep.
And I can kind of proudly say that about Clinton and Central Mississippi is that there is kind of an underground soccer community that's itching for soccer to watch and high quality soccer at that.
That's right. Well, Will, I'm gonna let you go back and enjoy the end of vacation. Enjoy it with the family. Tell everybody I said hey. Tell your brother-in-law I said to behave. And I will catch you when you get back, and we'll get ready to start our professional world and the education world. Right. Get ready for football season and soccer season around there. But I appreciate it. I want to also, we're not done with everything else, but I want to say to you, thanks for all of your help with this podcast. You have added so much that I could not have put in if I tried, and having a separate pair of eyes to see things has added to the quality of what I think is a pretty good podcast.
Well, no, I appreciate you letting me on and letting you join you in the booth. It's better in the AC sometimes than on the West away stands at Robinson Hill Stadium. But no, it's made this really fun. So I appreciate you letting me jump on.
For sure. All right. I'll see you when you get back. Y'all be safe down there.
All right.
All right. So here we are closing out the season. Most of the teams in the Mid-South Division have 2 matches remaining, with Red River saving their final match against the season against Brilla, which will be July 11th, as the boys travel down to Louisiana. Everybody else has 2 matches remaining. So let's take a look at the table to see where things have kind of shaken out. At the top, as it has been for a hot minute, is the Little Rock Rangers with 28 points. That win over the Louisiana Crew solidified them as the Mid-South champions for the 2nd year in a row. Congratulations to Little Rock. In second right now is the Louisiana Crew with 19 points, followed by Brilla right on their heels with 18 points. The match is July the 8th, right here in Clinton, Mississippi, and that will be a fateful one and a very fun one, but more on that later. Red River sits in 4th with 15 points and only 1 match left. So the best they can end up with is 18, and they're going to have to fight to get those points. Hattiesburg is in 5th with 12 points, and they have 2 more matches to play. So they have room to travel if they can take care of business. Memphis, they are still in 6th with 9 points, followed by the Jackson Boom, still seeking their first point. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the boys in blue, they will host the Louisiana Crew on Wednesday, July the 8th, with kickoff scheduled for 7 p.m. at Robinson Hill Stadium on the campus of Mississippi Christian University, the newly minted Mississippi Christian University. If Brilla wins this match, they will take ownership of the 2nd place spot for at least the time being. A draw will put them tied even in the points, and I believe points per match. I taught English for a while, so English teacher math tells me that they'll be tied there with both of those columns, and so they'll go to the goal differential. A win is what we need. That way my math doesn't even come into play. We're halfway to those 12 points from the final 4 matches that I have been saying we need, so we need to keep the winning momentum into the final home match and the final match on the road against Red River. It was said earlier, but I really would like to say thank you to Coach Will Nations, who has helped tremendously this season on the podcast and on the live stream, making both of them come to life. Follow this podcast on all of the socials at Big Brilla Pod, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things at Big Brilla Pod. Like, follow, share, help me out as we close this season up. I will see you on the final live stream of the season on the 8th, as well as down the road right here on the Big Brilla Podcast. Be sure to cheer for the boys in blue and up the Brilla.